Hello and welcome to I'll Try That, the beer review and news podcast.
I'll Try That, the beer review and news podcast.
Here in London.
Ding dong.
I was thinking about this last night in bed.
Smashed it.
Proof of success. As a soon-to-be fur daddy. Another one in the bag.
I'm vetoing that.
Hello everyone and welcome to the I'll Try That podcast in 2021, where we're going to be talking in this week's episode about New Year's Eve resolutions and sampling two non-alcoholic or low-alcoholic beers in Freestar and Lucky Saint. Throughout the rest of the month, we will be doing alcoholic beers, of course. We'll bring you all the best, like Old Speckled Hen and Sharps with Doom Bar, but we'll also be trying out their non-alcoholic beers as well. Just kind of taste it up, given it is dry January after all. And we will probably finish off the month with Brewdog's whole plethora of products in the non-alcoholic category. So watch this space, everyone. Enjoy. Hello everyone and welcome to 2021. This is Rich and Joe coming at you live from the I'll Try That virtual recording studios.
Yeah, we will have to apologise for Simo's absence this week, but he is currently in the gym. He's his New Year's resolution. He's decided to hit it incredibly hard. He's quite scrawny, but he just wanted to get jacked this year, was what he told us. And that's all we've got.
Yeah, just get jacked, get shredded. All these words he was saying. He was drinking a lot of protein shakes as I saw him building into the new year. Yeah. Just so he can get and now he's in his kind of full like bench pressing cars mode.
He just
that's what he's up
pockets full of chicken. And was just chowing down on that. It's been a whole thing for him. But we support him, and we're 100% there, and hopefully he'll be back with us soon.
So, Rich, tell me about it's 2021. Tell me about some of your New Year's resolutions.
Well, 2020 hasn't exactly been the year for everybody. And I'm not going to lie, my New Year's resolutions did go down the pan, which was to climb 30 mountains this year, because I turned 30. But unable to be able to travel anywhere, so I haven't done any of that. But this year, I'm getting back into it. So I've started going to the gym, like everybody does. But I started before the new year, so I'm counting that as winning, and I haven't given up yet.
Yeah, I think you definitely count that in. It's if you're running before, you have to run into 2021.
But that's
I think with all these.
I'm sprinting.
Sprinting into 2021. Getting away from it.
So, Joe, I've told you all about mine. What about yours?
So if I'm honest, I came up with about 9 New Year's resolutions that I wanted, and I've already mentally given up on 6 of them. Okay. They just were never going to happen. Yeah. So the other ones that I've kept going is keep positive. That's my New Year's resolution number 1 that I will keep going with. Well,
that's good. You're generally a very positive guy.
That's it. It's all about that outlook and a lot of mental health, building that fortitude from the inside out. I like that. Go on plenty of walks with my dog Bernie. That's a big New Year's resolution for 21.
I like that one. You are now a fur daddy, so that's cool.
That's it. He's going to make those walkings a lot easier. Yeah. Now he's kind of getting older and he wants to. Well, he's still a young pup, but he wants to run around and he wants to play with other dogs. Nice. So that's always fun to see. And my final one is, and my final resolution is to bring the Vuvuzela back. I just think we need to bring that big horn. The Vuvuzelas. It was the South Africa big horn.
Weren't they called Vuvuzelas? Is it a Vuvuzela?
No, it's Vuvuzela.
I thought it was a Vuvuzela.
No, it's got a Z in it.
Oh, is it? Okay. Is that the ones that make that go, like
that? Exactly. I just think we need that back in our life. 2021 needs the Vuvuzela.
What, just everybody has one?
Yeah, I think it should be a coronavirus mandate that all governments should give their people vuvuzelas. And then everyone has a designated. Maybe it's when we did the clapping for the NHS and for the medical workers. That every Thursday at 7:00 till 8:00, everyone goes out their window and blows their vuvuzelas out.
I couldn't think of anything worse. This is so. I live on the coast, and we get And there's a load of cruise ships currently at the moment parked up in Weymouth Bay. And every so often in the morning, you'll hear them just go, ha, and they're out at sea, quite a distance. And I'm lying in bed and I can hear them. And that's not what I want. So I couldn't think of anything worse. And then the whole of the UK all combining that noise at once, just to wind me up.
Which I'm not sure why you aren't getting on board with this. If anything, you've got an appreciation for honking noises coming from the sea. So, now you can bring that into your back garden. Everyone can get on board with this. This is a very community-driven New Year's resolution.
Yeah, sure. I'm not on board personally, and I won't be getting involved with I can't even pronounce them, the foo-foo sailors. That's not even what they're called.
The sailor.
Do you reckon? I reckon the wholesaler of those was loving that time. He thought he'd come up with some sort of creation, and then nobody really wanted it until, was it the World Cup? Yeah,
it was South Africa World Cup,
and that bloke's now a millionaire and laughing.
Absolutely. I mean, this is definitely something where you've created something and people really aren't taking to it, but then suddenly it just takes off and everyone goes crazy for it.
Like fidget spinners.
So weren't fidget spinners, again, we're going off topic here, but aren't fidget spinners, weren't they made for people with like OCD or like attention disorders or something? Because it's a way of like calming them down or focusing their mind onto something.
Yeah, they were given out in classrooms, weren't they, to kids who would struggle in class, and then they would spin it. So that's what was distracting them. So their hands were occupied. And
then somehow fidget spinners became like a world phenomenon with teenagers and kids alike, basically.
I had one for a short period of time.
Oh, there you go. This makes a lot more sense now.
I used to, if I was stuck in a traffic jam in the car, I used to spin it.
That doesn't sound safe at all.
I wasn't driving.
Why are you randomly stuck in traffic jams?
I'm just a busy man about town. I'm always around.
But whose car? Are you just getting into random strangers' cars during traffic jams and just start to spin your...
I'm not sitting in strangers' cars fidget spinning.
You said you were stuck in traffic, fidget spinning, but you weren't driving, and you weren't in with like drive. It's like, what? How are you in these cars? You're just like going into people's cars or in traffic jams.
I used to sit in the like ashtray bit, and when I was parked in the car and there was nothing going on, I used to use the fidget spinner.
Well, they're fantastic. Well, I'm glad it occupied your time. And very good use of everyone's time with those fidget spinners. But one thing that people are doing, we mentioned it about Simo getting on his gym buff right now. But everyone's in the new year. It's past the holiday period with Christmas and the New Year's Eve and the indulgence and drinking that goes along with all of that. And you got to let your hair down. It's the end of the year. Time off. Go crazy. Well, it's your thing.
Well, I was on the phone to you yesterday, wasn't I? I was telling you about my Christmas day. And how by the end of it, I looked 9 months pregnant with the amount of beer I had drunk that day. It was not good.
Yeah, I think everyone was catering a food baby, as it were, over the Christmas period.
100%.
So now we're into the new year. We know that, a lot of people's New Year's resolutions is going to be about getting fit, getting active, or looking for alternatives of how you can, trim down or keep yourself lean or leaner. So what we're going to do for all of our listeners right now is we are going to try some non-alcoholic or low ABV. So that's 0.5 maximum ABV beers. We're going to talk a little bit about them. We know this is a huge trend that has been actually around for quite a while with the likes of Beck's Blue as the one I remember right from the back of my mind. You'd never pick it up, but it was always on offer for a non-alcoholic beer. But in the last few years, we've really seen a resurgence in this space. The likes of Budweiser, Heineken, Corona, all of the big players all offering these non-alcoholic versions of their existing product line.
And so what we thought we'd tie in as well is when we try some of the other beers later on in the month as well, we're going to add in and try the non-alcoholic version too, to see if they taste the same, to see if they are as good as the original.
Yeah, I mean that is the encapsulation of what these beer companies who already operate with alcoholic beers is that they are trying to create non-alcoholic versions of their existing products. So I think if anything, I think that's a harder shoe to fit. You need to. People have got a picture in their mind, a taste palette in their mind of what your beer tastes like, but you're going to then do a non-alcoholic version. So you're going to take the alcohol away. That will be interesting. So as Rich said, we're going to have more episodes in the future. We're going to do the likes of Brewdog. We're going to do the likes of Sharps with their Doom Bar. We're going to do Old Speckled Hen as well for you Old Speckled Hen lovers out there. We're going to do some Dutch beer with Erdinger. which I'm actually a big fan of Weiss beer, and we haven't actually really done any Weiss beers yet, so that's going to be good, interesting. But watch this space through the month of January, because we'll have lots more. But Rich, who are we doing this week? Who are the two breweries that we're going to do?
So we've picked two relatively new non-alcoholic beers on the scene. They've been around for maybe a couple of years or so, slowly making a name for themselves. So we have picked out Freestar Prime Time and Lucky Saint, which are the two we've chosen. Freestar is a 0% beer, so there is 0 alcohol in it, and Lucky Saint has 0.5. So we've kind of we've taken one from the very low alcohol and the no alcohol stage out there.
Now, it's worth noting that both of these are lagers. That's what they refer to themselves as. So these are we're trying to pick beers here that you could do one or the other. So you could choose them, compare them against them. So the Freestar, we're looking at this one. We're both loving the design of these, by the way. Both Lucky Saint and Freestar have got some really interesting designs to them. Freestar is very much in this orange color. They've got, as you'd imagine, like this kind of quite interesting star graphic coming through these kind of barcode looking lines, which is but it's quite fun. It kind of works, doesn't it? In this kind of, it's a bit disruptive for the beer industry. So
what I find really interesting is Freestar came onto the scene in about 2019, was when it started to be developed, when it was put out there for people to try. But they've already changed their logo from the original one, which I found quite interesting. That's a very quick turnaround to change their marketing.
Yeah, well, I think it makes a lot of sense when you look at their old one. Their old one was a white label with colour on top of it. And so they've just reversed it out with an orange colour on top of it, and they've reversed it out. So it's just punchier now. It's, white labels are very medicinal. You don't really see it that often in the beer category as a kind of a category colour cue, because it is very medicinal. It makes you think of medicine. It makes you think of like beauty products that are in white mostly. So moving back into like an orange owned, a colour is very much more in the kind of the beer category, or the kind of drinks category in general, I'd say.
Well, but when I was I popped to Sainsbury's where I managed to get most of my non-alcoholic beer. I will give Sainsbury's credit. They have a fantastic non-alcoholic beer section. Really, really big. And it was definitely one that stood out the most. A lot of the bigger companies have kind of stuck to their bottle main design with a slight tweak here or there. Like I believe San Miguel has a blue line, or Peroni, one of the two have changed it. So it's blue, and I believe Ghost Ship is another one. They've slightly changed. They've still got the Ghost Ship on the front, but they've slightly changed the label, but they've kept with the core design. But when I was looking around, Freestar has gone along the lines of those independent craft breweries that we see. They have a kind of funky, popular, kind of like a very shouty design out there, which it definitely caught my eye, and that was one of the reasons I grabbed it.
Yeah, I think you've actually hit on two points there. So I think blue is starting to be seen as the kind of category code for non-alcoholic or low alcohol, isn't it? Like that kind of light blue. We're starting to see a lot more. Heineken have got it in their 0 with the 0.0 in their version. You've got Old Speckled Hen have got like this light blue ribboning around there, like kind of low version. But what's different about Lucky Star in comparison to all of those other beers is Lucky Star don't make anything else but this non-alcoholic beer. So they don't have the precedent set on. But what I'm finding quite interesting by this beer is that it is a beer. It's made of hops, barley, water, yeast. That is beer, through and through. But it's not been made how the normal non-alcoholic beer is made, where you take a product, you make a full alcoholic beer, and then you take the alcohol away in lots of different ways. You can do that.
Yeah.
What Freestar have done is from the very beginning, they've set out to make like no alcohol in it. So that it doesn't really get fermented. So in theory, does that mean it's a beer? Is it not a beer? It's a good question.
I'm not too sure on that. I would need to look into the science. But tasting it doesn't taste like a lager, that in the traditional sense.
Yeah. I mean, let's just talk a bit more about the process before we get into taste and stuff. So I think going back to what we were saying about the Freestar doesn't have fermentation.
No.
But it does have the same ingredients that make up beer. So it has a blended of malt barley with citrus oils. I think the bergamot, pomelo, lemon, lime, and pearl hops, which has been around for quite a while, since the 60s and 70s, really popular in Germany. But really, what it's doing is it's pulling together all these different flavors to create something that's non-alcoholic, and it's as close to beer as possible.
Yeah. So when I was doing the research into this and I was reading, they pride themselves on it not containing any alcohol and not gone through the point that it has any alcohol in it. And kind of reading through, and it's interesting, they went through a long process to get to where they are right now. Taking a read in, apparently it took them over 2 years and 400 different recipes, which is a lot.
That's crazy. That's a lot of work.
Yeah. I can imagine it was just tiny tweaks here or there to once they had like a batch formula, but that's a fair bit of dedication from the boys who created this to get to where they are now. And I believe they tried it loads of different ways. They even brewed alcohol by accident, I think, which is definitely what they weren't trying to do.
Added a different type of yeast, I think I read. That was quite interesting, and made alcohol.
They made a load of bottles that were exploding, so I'm assuming there was too much gas or pressure.
Oh no, they tried to pasteurize it. Pasteurize it, and that's what you do with dairy. So it's not a good thing.
No, because
they don't do it. They don't do pasteurization anymore. But I think the big things that come out of this is, well, what is this? What are the benefits of this product? Okay, it's only got 18 calories per 100 milliliters. It's got 4.4 grams of carbs and 1.4 grams of sugar per 100 milliliters. So that's a significant reduction in all of those pieces for normal beer. That is 18 calories per 100 milliliters. I mean, that's better than orange juice in some places.
Yeah, that's fantastic to be. I suppose a healthier option and drink out there, which is pretty good. And
I think what's so great about it as well, because they don't take the normal brewing process. They take the ingredients of the brewing process, but they don't go through the fermentation process, because they don't do any of this wastage of trying to make a beer and then take the alcohol out. That they've got some significant reductions in waste. So 70% less waste is created in comparison to the normal brewing process, and 80% less water is used. So that is fantastic, actually. When you think about how much water the brewing industry uses, this is a beer that is a beer, I'm using quotation marks, but I do think it is a beer, FYI. But it's a beer that uses 80% less water. I mean, that's great for the environment.
Well, that's it. It's down to the age-old thing that all breweries are trying to do. They're trying to be sustainable. They're trying to come across as an ethical and as clean cut as possible. Like they advertise being, they're non-vegan and gluten-free. Or no, they're vegan and gluten-free, sorry. Which is great out there if you are looking to enjoy something. It is hard to come across these things, and it's ethically sourced, which hits the nail on the head for so many people in this day and age trying to live a cleaner, healthier life and want to live a sustainable life as well.
And I did one last point until we get onto the smell and the taste. So they did win some awards at the World Beer Awards in 2019 for the United Kingdom. So they're representing the UK in the beer awards. Now, we've danced around the point and we've beaten around the bush, but let's get into the smell and the taste of this beer.
Okay.
Rich, kick us off. So,
as Joe will be testament to this. When I first opened the beer and I had a smell, I wasn't sold. It's an interesting aroma. It's quite sweet. It's got a sweet aroma, and it's very pungent. It's very pungent, and it hits the nostrils quite quickly. I then took a swig, and I wasn't sold. But after continuing drinking the beer through all of this recording, I've come round to it.
Yes, I'm so pleased you said that, because I'm exactly the same. When I first got it, I was like, oh, this is very different on the nose. And like an Alcopop, or maybe even like an Iron Brew, it's that kind of weird flavourings that this is something different to anything. But now I've had a few sips, I'm a quarter of the way through this bottle. I am really enjoying it, actually.
I thought I was going to come on here once I'd first tried it, and I was just going to have nothing good to say about it when I first tried it and I first smelt it. But I will hold my hands up and hand on heart say I am wrong. And Freestar, you've done something okay here. If you could work on the initial smell, that would be great. But once I got down to it and once I started drinking it, I really enjoyed this. I didn't think I would. I've never really been into the world of non-alcoholic beer until this past week or so. But I'm in.
So what I think is so let's pale this back. And we're thinking this is a lager, right? So what do we think of a lager? It needs to be crisp. It needs to be refreshing.
Yeah.
It needs to feel clean as well. And for me, Freestar does all of those right now. It is fresh, it's clean, it's what was the other thing I said? Refreshing. But yeah, as it's a beverage, I think we have to think about this Freestar as like with an open mind. This is a new drinking space. It is probably an alternative to beer, but it's after you've got through those first couple of sips and you've got past the smell, that first smell, it's actually really palatable and it's clean and it's crisp. And I mean, it's 62 calories for the entire bottle. Yeah. So that 18 calories per 100 milliliters works out as 62 calories a bottle. That's really low. Yeah. Like I'm, as an alternative to just sitting back in the evening and just pounding a couple of beers, you would probably think about this as a Freestar alternative.
I would 100% buy this beer again, and I would recommend it to anybody out there who is wanting to try something different. Even if you're not doing dry January or not trying not to drink or anything, just give it a whirl, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Just get over those initial first couple of sips and then just roll with it.
Well, I'm also thinking as well with a lot of these, and we're going to check out Lucky Saint, which has got 0.5% alcohol, so it's got a bit in it. But just mix this in with your normal drinking. If you're having like a couple of beers, why don't you have one of your favourite beers and then want to have one of these? Or then maybe go back to another beer. Like just trying to mix it up a little bit, so you're not always just picking something that's the same. Or anyway, it's a bit different. So let's just tuck into Lucky Saint.
Yeah.
So if Freestar was orange, Lucky Saint is definitely this kind of like bluey green aqua. It's quite a dark aqua, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Okay, so just looking at the bottle, and as I said, for the Lucky Saint, it's a nice blue, and I really enjoy the bold lettering on it, and that it's relatively simple but quite effective with what it does on the side.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed about Lucky Saint. Their branding is on point. They've got a really nice design, which looks really good. It's like the lettering of Lucky Saint is flipped on its side, so it's a little bit different. But everything's got a place. It's very considered. They've got a lot of information on the label, but it feels very clean. It doesn't feel cluttered and like there's things all over the place. Like every single part of what that has been designed, and it feels as I said, considered.
And I really, really like that I actually want to read on the bottle as well. It's not like some cans that have just got like logos about filtering and all of this sort of stuff. But it's actually quite clean cut, and I like the way it's broken down, that it gives you some facts on there and how to serve it, and how long it's been fermented for, and what degrees it's fermented at. I think it's quite cool.
And so they definitely feel like with Lucky Saint, even like looking on their website is really clean. It's a nice designed website. Everything feels like there's been quite a bit of time and energy that's gone into it with Lucky Saint.
Yeah, and reading through it, it sounds like the founder, Luke Bose is his name. I'm just reading here. Sounds like he's pretty passionate towards it as well, and that he's put a lot of time and effort into creating something that he's proud of, which I like.
Yeah, it seems. I mean, looking a bit more, he kind of unsuccessfully worked with 4 separate breweries.
Yeah.
But before he partnered with this brewery to make this craft beer, to put this alcohol free beer, and I think that's it. Like really working on the product, really working on the recipe. And it is, again, it's a lager, so it's playing in a category that a lot of people know. So if you're going to bring something out that doesn't taste like lager, but you're in this space, then, it has to be something that people know, people are palatable, people want it to be, to do it well. But it really does have the fermentation process. So unlike Lucky Star, where it was from the ground up non-alcoholic, doesn't have any alcohol in it at any point in the process, Lucky Saint does have alcohol in it. It's 0.5%, and it goes through the more traditional brewing process in order to do so. So it's a low version, but it definitely has alcohol in it. But what's interesting about that, there's only 16 calories and 3.5 kilograms of carbohydrates and just 0.1 grams of sugar per 100 milliliters. So that sugar reduction right there, which is amazing, because sugar is kind of created from the yeast in the fermentation process. So that must be how they're getting such low alcohol, and they're taking that sugar down is by, just doing something with the yeast.
Absolutely perfect for me as a diabetic as well.
That's true. Actually, this is good. We'll have huge health benefits for you. So let's get on to like the sniffing. Let's go on the sniff, Rich. Take a deep sniff of that.
I'm going to tell you straight off what this smells like through the sniff. Marmite.
Marmite. Yeah, it's very yeasty.
Yeah.
It's very yeasty.
But
yeah, you're absolutely spot on.
I like Marmite, but I'm not too sure I want to drink Marmite. This is
I'm with you. I like Marmite a lot, but this is it's you can smell the yeast. And most beers, and that's I guess the difference. Most beers you can't smell the yeast. The yeast is just something is an important part of all the brewing processes, unless you're lucky saint. It's masked. It's just it's a chemical agent that helps things. It's a living organism, yeast, but it helps the process going. Whereas actually, most beers you can't smell or know that yeast is there. It's like a kind of a silent partner in the background that just makes the whole thing happen, but you would never know it's there.
I love that description. A silent partner. That I'm going to be thinking about that for a long time, Joe. You know, you get those occasional thoughts that just come back. That's going to be one of them. Yeast is a silent partner.
Quite like Simo is right now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to give you my initial reaction.
Let's get tasting. Okay, so similar to Lucky Star, I need to take a couple of sips before forming a verdict.
I'm trying to put words on this. I'm just going to go for another sip.
Okay, so it's as a lager. I'm getting a bit of citrus. I'm getting it's quite light, but actually it's got a load of depth to it.
That's exactly what I'm. I can't explain it, Joe. You've hit it there. It's very light, but there's also something else going on, as though it's lurking underneath.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
So it definitely feels like, I guess, similar to the this isn't like a bish bash bosh lager that you'd get when you like or some of those other lagers we've had before, and everyone knows what a lager tastes like. This feels like it's got a lot more. Well, I said depth, but it's got there are new flavors each time you're kind of putting it into your mouth.
Yeah, I can't identify everything that's in there when I'm swigging. I can't. Every time I've tried it, there's something else coming through, which is interesting. I got to say, it's not in a bad way.
Well, it's definitely, for me, the aftertaste is bitter. Like, it's got some bitterness that comes through it. Not so much so like an actual bitter does, but it's got some bitterness to it. It's not, I dare I say, it feels like, it tastes a bit like medicinal. It's like you're having some sort of like, well, not Calpol, because Calpol's delicious, but it's like having some sort of medicine that you're putting down your mouth, and you're just kind of like, that's interesting, but I know it's doing me good.
This is going to be a really niche reference to what it tastes like. But when I was in the Amazon and I was with some people that I'd met out there, and we're in the jungle, there was a drink we tried in this little hut that it tastes like. I can't remember the name of the drink, but I very much doubt the Lucky Saint Brewing Company has gone there.
So you tried some local delicacy drink, and it tastes like this. Yeah. I mean, they've nailed it. If they didn't know about it, they've nailed it. That's great. So, I mean, it feels and tastes. Okay, so on the nose, like you said, you can smell that yeast. I mean, you said Marmite. So I wouldn't go that far, but because Marmite is definitely a very distinct. Marmite is very distinctive taste to me, but that smell of yeast, I get that completely. We're getting a bit of bitterness on the taste. Yeah, it changes with the depth of how each taste I'm having. It tastes a little bit different. Yeah, and certainly now it's warming up a little bit. I've had it cold out the fridge, and now it's warming up a little bit. The taste is changing again. Like it's like it's growing still. This beer. It's
become a little bit more mellower. I think that it's warmed up slightly, and it says it's meant to be served at 4 degrees, which is the peak temperature. So that's quite chilled, 4 degrees sort of thing. But I think. But
that's standard if you've got it in the fridge. Though, a fridge should be anywhere below 5 degrees. So that's just put it in the fridge and then take it out the fridge. So that's okay.
I think I prefer it a little bit warmer, not like warm sort of thing, but a little bit. Just up from 4 degrees, and it mellows the taste out a little bit, and you don't have that. I still think I'm tasting the yeast a little bit. Or I'm tasting
It's just for me, every time I put the bottle to my lips to taste it, I can smell the yeast. So that's where it's like I'm getting that yeast come through.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that kind of bitterness is coming through a bit more now. Now the fizz has gone away. Like the fizz went really quickly from this bottle.
Yeah.
As soon as I've opened it, had a couple of sips out of it and the fizz is gone. Whereas most lagers, you expect the fizz to be there for a bit longer.
So my verdict for Lucky Saint is it's fine. It's not spectacular. It's okay and it's drinkable, but I prefer the Freestar we tried earlier.
Yeah, I think if people are looking for something quite a bit different, this is a very distinctive taste, this Lucky Saint. It's quite creamy. It's got that little bit of bitterness, but it's nothing majorly bitter. It's not a massive overpower of citrus or it doesn't feel or taste clean as well. But it is a bit different. So I think if you're looking for something that's quite interesting, but it's full of flavour, then this Lucky Saint does it.
Yeah,
for sure.
100%.
Right, let's have a quick look at their Instagrams and Twitters. So let's start with Freestar. Freestar has 6,100 followers, but they've only done 29 posts. So maybe they're very new to the Instagram game.
Yeah.
They might have only just started. I mean, they're very new. 2019 they started out, so they're still very new as well. And on Lucky Star on Instagram, they have 6,249. And Lucky Saint on Instagram is 6,249. So very similar in numbers.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting when you kind of flick back between companies, beer companies, or just in general Instagram pages, and you see the curated designs. Obviously, with Lucky Saint, you're getting this blue colour that's across everything come through in every single one of their posts.
Yeah.
Whether that's even with the beer in there, which they mostly do, or like the inside of their packaging has that blue colour. So if you get a Lucky Saint box, it'll have that colour on the inside. The beer fonts, so apparently they have beer fonts, is also blue as well.
Yeah.
Now, Freestar, you can imagine, it's blue, it's orange. It's the orange colour, so where, sort of married up, but they're quite different in how they're doing. Although they're both doing the same thing, they're both beer companies or they're brewing companies and they're offering that, and so a lot of it is pouring of it. They're how they're doing it and how they're kind of portraying themselves is different. So I like that kind of the difference in Instagram pages when you can start seeing a bit of the personality of the brands or how the brand's wanting to be seen in this. Like Lucky Saint seems more curated, which is quite nice. It's quite polished, it's quite clean. Again, we goes back to that's why the design, everything seems very considered, so that would make sense on the Instagram as well.
Okay,
Whereas Freestar seems a little bit looser. This seems a bit more playful, almost.
Yeah, I can tell that from just looking at the bottles.
And then Instagram, so on Twitter, Freestar have 116 people they're following, and on Lucky Saint they have 2,302 people on Twitter.
Yeah.
So again, they're using it slightly differently. I think Freestar needs to be doing a little bit more on Twitter, just because having a quick scroll through Twitter is a bit mundane.
Yeah.
Whereas Lucky Saint's Twitter is kind of more considered. Again, it's very similar to their Instagram, I suppose. Yeah. But it's it's interesting. It's more interesting on Twitter, I'd say. So I think just to wrap up on this, that we've obviously trying out a couple of new options here with a non-alcoholic and a low alcoholic version with Freestar and Lucky Saint. I think our verdict is that they are interesting to try. Definitely get a few sips in before writing one of or both of them off.
I can vouch for that.
I think, Rich, you as with your kind of you might be picking up a Lucky Saint just for the low sugar options at some point.
Would be for me,
but. Overall, I'd say a Freestar, I might just decide to have a couple of Freestars in the fridge, and because you never know when you might want a non-alcoholic beer. And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe,
Rich, and Simo,
goodbye. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter,
and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now. Always drink responsibly, and if you or anyone else needs some help, go to drinkaware.co.uk for more information.